Hi, this is Nicholas Bell with IONCINEMA, here to review Old Boyfriends, which will be released on Blu-ray August 18th, 2020, courtesy of Kino Lorber. It is the directorial debut of Joan Tewkesbury, who ever after would only direct films made for television, which is sadly a disappointment after experiencing Old Boyfriends. She's probably best known as the screenwriter of two phenomenal Robert Altman films, including Thieves Like Us and Nashville. Strangely, it was written by Paul and Lauren Schrader. It's at a time when Paul Schrader was in the middle of, he'd done Hardcore with George C. Scott and about to be embarking on American Gigolo. And it stars Talia Shire as Diane Cruz, who works as a clinical psychologist in California. A very tense opening sequence with a car ramming itself into a barrier unveils itself to be about a woman, Diane Cruz, who decides that in order to better understand who she is, she needs to go back and discover who she was through the eyes of her old boyfriend. She's found her old diaries, and it's really a road trip movie where she goes to visit her old beaus, starting with Richard Jordan, who's a director of commercials in Denver. Some awkward, they do kind of bond with each other again, and he's now divorced and has a teenage daughter, and she bonds with her, and then there's some awkwardness and she just leaves him high and dry. But it's enough to where her behavior is erratic enough to where Richard Jordan is worried about her and starts to figure out what's going on. Meanwhile, she's off to Minneapolis where she meets another high school boyfriend played by John Belushi, which, you know, revenge can be sweet sometimes, as evidenced by that sequence. And then she goes finally back off to her hometown where she's looking for her first boyfriend, I believe, who died in the military service. But she reconnects with his younger brother, played by Carradine, who is emotionally stunted and has some psychological issues, which she exacerbates by asking him to dress in his dead brother's clothes, a man that he feels whose death he's responsible for, which triggers a psychotic episode in him. She's basically shamed by his therapist and, you know, goes back to LA where Richard Jordan ends up tracking her down again, and they actually have some nice meaningful moments. And we learn other things about her thanks to the Richard Jordan tangents, such as she told him her previous husband killed himself, which is not true. Buck Henry left her for a younger woman played by P.J. Soles, of course, of John Carpenter's Halloween. It was filmed by William Fraker, of course, who lends the Steve McQueen classic Bullets, directed by Peter Yates, as well as Looking for Mr. Goodbar from Richard Brooks. The music is phenomenal because every driving sequence, it sounds like a horror film. And David Shire, who also has a vast variety of films that he provided scores for, including Norma Ray, Night Mother, and Monkey Shines, to name a few. It just is crackling with the energy of adult themes that we just rarely see anymore, especially as involves the psychology of a woman and her relationships to herself, as refracted through men in this. It's fascinating to watch. Talia Shire's also, I'd say this is one of her most underrated performances, you know, because of course everybody knows Godfather and her other Oscar-nominated role in Rocky. So everybody, you know, you think of that when you think of Talia Shire, but this is, it's just such a wonderful obscure gem that I really can't recommend enough. And I thankfully was able to see at the American Cinematheque's Aero Theater in September of 2019 had a screening of this, and Keith Carradine and Joan Tewkesbury and Talia Shire showed up to discuss it. And so I'm so happy to see that Kino Lorber has also resurrected it for home video consumption. Overall, I'll give the film 4 out of 5 stars, and Kino Lorber's release 3 out of 5. Thank you.
Hey, this is Eric from IONCINEMA.com. If you want to support us, subscribe below. For more reviews, interviews, film festival coverage from Sundance, Cannes, Toronto, you want to check out these guys on this side.